أصحابه أجمعين. So, ready to take off. I've put it on a different angle. One of the feedbacks that I got that you guys were kind enough to go that I was too much in your face. Right on top of the camera, which I had to do since I have YouTube Live and Insta Live running parallel. So now I've sort of placed them at an angle. So I'm going to be looking here, there, it'll be a little confusing, but for me, I hope it works out for you. I'm not going to be in your face too much. I already am with the pace with which I speak and what it is that I say tends to be overbearing. So at least you shouldn't have to have my face in your face. Right, so moving right along to our third episode, Surah Al-Muddathir is what we're covering today, inshallah, over the course of the next half hour or so. Surah Al-Muddathir is, again, understood by scholars to be the third revelation that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam received. Taking a step back, the first two, quick review, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam having everything that a man would want in the Meccan society at the age of 40, brilliant family, beautiful, incredible, emotional attachment, you name it, everything Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has going for himself, wealth, social status, reputation. He's really there, but incredibly dissatisfied. As far as his personal understanding of Tawheed is concerned, he's on the deen of Ibrahim alayhi salam as best as it has reached him, as much as he understands of it, and in accordance with that understanding, he is in some way or the other reflecting, meditating, worshipping Allah as only one. No polytheism, no shirk at all. The confusion, the difficulty is, how does that great Lord, the great Rabb of Ibrahim alayhi salam that Rasulullah himself worships, how does he relate with the world, with individuals, given the difficulties, the evil, and the suffering in the society around him? That the exploitation that is rife, the injustice that is rife, how does that work? Right, so there is this discontent that he's carrying, again, by the testimony of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, that you are the one who ties bonds of kinship, you strengthen bonds of kinship, you help people. That is who he was consistently prior to revelation as well. And so the response that he gets from Allah after his recluse in the cave of Hira is that you need to read. Iqra. And that's how it all begins. Read in the name of your Rabb, the rububiyyah of Allah, the message of Tawheed in the context of Allah being the evolver of the universe and of individuals. What does that mean? He takes them from stage to stage across their growth to live up to the potential that they have been created for. Created from what? Some very humble origins. Now, of course, we spoke about the incredibly overwhelming experience that it was, how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was shocked, petrified, incredibly scared with whatever Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha did to calm him down, to reassure him. And that did help, of course, and which is in the aftermath, he received the second revelation. And this ties in with what we want to talk about today. This surah too begins with Ya ayyuhal muddathir, O you who are wrapped up. The previous surah, Ya ayyuhal muzammil, O you who are wrapped up. Muzammil, muddathir, roughly translated, mean the same thing. That you're the one who's wrapped up. Rise. The next word is also the same. Qum, get up, stand up. Now, the important difference, Muzammil refers to a wrapping up of yourself that you do out of fear. And it adds up, it makes sense that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after Iqra, after Surah Alaq, was very scared, very fearful, very insecure. And we tied that insecurity in with the doubt that he has. What was that experience? What was it? It was a demonic experience. It was what? And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very afraid. So appropriately, The address is Ya ayyuhal muzammil, that O you who are wrapped up out of fear. Qum, stand up, a part of the night. And so um, he is called towards prayer, and how a particular type of night prayer, and a particular type of night prayer with measured mindful recitation, and that how that mindful recitation ties in with a calmness, or how it helps bring about a stability to counter the instability that is associated with the insecurity of doubt. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with this mindful vigil at night, reciting again and again, is preparing himself for a very heavy task, for a heavy responsibility that the revelation of the Quran places upon him, and that will allow for him to be more mindful in his speech, to be more resilient, to be stronger, because he is delaying the gratification of sleep, and therefore fighting the natural impulsivity that human beings have. And so with that strengthening, disciplining, and mindfulness, his responses, his speech, which is something very important for the task that he is being charged with, the responsibility that he is being given. Now, that speech is going to be more reflective, mindful, measured as well. So, a mindful recitation of the Quran is tying in directly with the mindful speech, mindful communication, measured communication that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has to do for whatever responsibilities are coming up. So this night prayer, that's the second message. We spoke about the standing up part of this spirituality, and how this spiritual vigil, this exercise is entirely spiritual, right? Standing up in the middle of the night, reciting Quran. That's a very spiritual exercise, but it's standing up. It has to be done standing up. And so the proactive nature of this spirituality from the get-go is being established. Now with this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with his following in with this revelation, praying, reciting again and again, he is doing that, what the surah asked him to do. And here comes the third revelation. And that too starts off with Ya ayyuhal muddathir, O you who have wrapped himself up. Now again, the word used here is, again, loosely translated as wrapped himself up or covered up in your clothes, but it is different from muzammil, where muzammil was a type of wrapping up that you do out of fear and insecurity. Muddathir is the sort of wrapping up that you do to sort of shun society, to sort of turn away from society, to sort of not be, to cut yourself off, almost being unaware of whatever it is that is going on around you, unaware of where you have to be or where you want to be. Sort of implication of heedlessness settles in to this sort of covering up. I don't want to have anything to do with anyone. There's a lot going on. I don't want to think about it. What am I doing? It's too much. It's getting too overwhelming. And this ties in here as well, because of course, the night vigil, the spirituality, the prayer at night, we will see this more explicitly in Surah Al-Inshirah, that it has this tendency, and we would see this in Dawood alayhi salam as well, that there is this tendency in spirituality that once you get the hang of it, once you really get into it, the tranquility that it does eventually come with after the struggling part, it is very soothing. It is very alluring to just have that and not have much to do with the outside world. I mean, you're talking to God, for crying out loud, and God is talking to you. It doesn't get any better than that. And so you would want that this connection with God is all of what you have. So that, and of course, we spoke about in the very beginning that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's going to the cave of Hira is the going of a person who is lost. And we see in Surah Al-Duha that will come later, Allah acknowledging this. وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. We found you lost and we guided you. So that this heedlessness or the feeling of being lost, completely clueless as to what needs to be done for whatever you see in the society, whatever you see in the world, you don't like. What is there to like about injustice and people getting exploited? What is there to like about that? Nothing. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, deeply empathic person that he is deeply hurt at the pain that he sees around himself. And the cluelessness, the lostness, covered beautifully in the word that means covered up. Ya ayyuhal muddathir. You who are covering himself up. It's time to uncover. It's time to get out. You don't like what you see in the world around you? Change it. Change it. Qum fa'anzir. Stand up. Get up and warn. The previous instruction was get up and pray. The second instruction is get up, stand up, and warn. You got to talk to people now. You got to tell people the consequences of what you've already seen. The consequences of their actions that are before them, they don't see it. It keeps getting worse. Let them know how bad it can really get in this world and in the hereafter. Get up and warn them. Let them know whatever it is that you're doing, the path that you have chosen for yourself, it does not end well. فَأَنذِرْ. Stand up and warn. The status quo cannot be maintained anymore. Warning has to be issued. This is not on. This doesn't work. قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ. So stand up and warn. So this dimension of spirituality, this social dimension of spirituality, where it is directed towards society, towards people, towards their problems, that this needs to stop. Warnings have to be issued. Precautions have to be taken. Change is necessary. Real, definitive change. قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ. Stand up and warn. And this triad, if you will, reading, educating yourself, learning, praying, and social activism, socially doing something, how the three feed into each other. You take any one of these out, and what you're left with is evil. What you're left with is that same evil gets reinforced. If there is a lot of education and it has no social output, what's the benefit of that education? What is that education doing? Except the one who's being educated is increasing himself in arrogance. He's a know-it-all. What's the benefit of your knowledge? What's the output? How is the world any different? Similarly, spiritual activities, spiritual worship, spiritual rituals, all of what you're doing, your meditations and your reflections and your prayers, isolated from that social activism, cut off from education, from knowledge. What is that increasing you in? A feeling of self-righteousness, a feeling of disconnect from all the problems and just this center of relaxation and tranquility for your own self. How selfish is that? How anti-social is that? Third, if you have activism, if you have that, let me bring in the change. This is wrong with society. That is wrong with society. That is wrong with society. Then what you are essentially doing is riling people up for anarchy. Because one, you do not know any better. You are not educated. You haven't learned. The two sources of knowledge, particularly acquired knowledge, revelatory knowledge, the relationship between those, the intuitive and the acquired, you have no idea. and you're going around calling everything wrong. Now everything is messed up. So I just realized that most of this time that I was live here on YouTube, I was not live on Instagram. I had forgotten to press the go live button. In any case, I just pressed it there. So those of you who are just catching up, you might want to catch up with the first 15 minutes of this segment on YouTube. My apologies for that, but I'm going to continue from where I am in this YouTube recording at least, and you guys can catch up with that. So in any case, the importance of carrying the three together, the social activism, the prayer, and the education. One of the crises of modern times, postmodern times now, is that all three of these have become so segregated from each other, so widely distant, so far apart, that it's very difficult to even see how they relate, let alone bring him into relationship within an individual. When you look to educate yourself, it seems almost a necessity that you have to cut yourself off from a social activism. When you look to become more and more spiritual, the demands that that places upon you, or the people of spirituality, what they ask of you, is to turn yourself away from whatever it is that education has to offer, from anything that may be realistically necessary within the society itself. It's almost as a demand put before you that you want to really be spiritual, you have to turn away from society. You want to really be educated, you have to turn away from society and spirituality for that matter. And then there's going to be this attitude within social activists, people very critical of the status quo institutions, people very critical of whatever else is rampant within society. But they would look down upon education and spirituality. Spirituality is going to be the opium of the masses. It is going to be a way of deceiving yourself and making yourself feel too calm and not doing whatever it is that is necessary to be done. It's a drug. They would look at education as the same way, that all of education does is that it makes sure that you become a cog in the wheel of this with the status quo, that you're just being trained and engineered to become somebody who maintains rather than challenges this particular the way things are in society. So that's the challenge that we're faced with as we speak. And it's not that any of those criticisms are entirely wrong. There is definitely truth in them, which makes it all the more difficult to navigate through these the gaps and the contradictions between these three areas when we look to really develop ourselves in them. And so all the more reason that within Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we see the importance, at least, of how they need to be carried together. And then how that's going to work in our individual lives in this day and age, it's a challenge in itself. And we look to gain as many lessons from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as we possibly can to carry that forward. Now, moving right along. Ya ayyuhal muddathir qum fa'anzir wa rabbaka fakabbir. And your Rabb exalt. Literally translated, this ayah means make your Rabb great. Isn't he already great? Isn't he the greatest? What does it mean that you have to make him great? What's going on there? So again, go back to the problem that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam takes to the cave. Allah, you're great. The world is not so great. It does not reflect your greatness. There's people doing all kinds of things they shouldn't be doing, messed up to the nth degree. No remorse, no guilt whatsoever. It's actually institutionalized. It's sanctioned. People laugh at it. People are okay with it. What in the world is that? And the response that Allah gives is, yeah, it's a world in progress. It's development in progress. This rububiyyah is ongoing. And guess what? You're supposed to be part of it. You're supposed to be a part of this process of rububiyyah, of this process of evolution of the society, of progress, of growth. You're supposed to help me finish this. And literally, these are the words used in so many different parts of the Quran. Help Allah. That yes, this is his project, his grand project, project of humanity, project of creation. But he doesn't call dibs on pretty much everything and anything that needs to be done in this. He's inviting human beings over. Come, play your part in taking this to its culmination, to its actualization. And he phrases it in the most incredible way possible. Exalt me, make me greater, make your Rabb greater. That's what it means to be invited, to become a co-worker with God. This world is his work, but it's a work in progress. What's necessary for this progress? What is necessary for this progress to go through? Your contribution, your effort, your humanity has to become a part of this divinity. It doesn't get any more radical than that. It doesn't get any more radical than that. The first revelation began with the identification of the humility of the human being, of the weak origins of the human being. This revelation in Surah Al-Muddathir, the point or the direction is towards the great goals or the great ends towards which human beings are here for. Yes, your origins are humble, which is what makes your destination all the more great. Which is what makes your destination all the more incredible. Humble origins, great destination. Incredible. What is that great destination? To literally exalt your Rabb. To work with him towards making all of these challenges, making all of these evils, all of these difficulties that you see in the world around you lesser, more rights, more justice, more truth, more people living up to their potential, that process continuing to go to more better growth, the good type of growth, not the cancerous growth. There was some form of growth in Quraysh. There was some form of growth in the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire at the time. It was cancerous growth. The good kind of growth, the rububiyyah kind of growth. Allah being the Rabb sort of growth. وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ. Your role in that, you gotta exalt him. You gotta really make him great. وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ. And your garments, your clothing, purify them. Because really, when you're gonna go out there, you're going to have this problem. It's not going to be a walk in the park. People aren't going to roll out the red carpet for you and welcome you. Come, bring the change that you want to bring. We've been waiting for you, oh dear Messiah, for all this time. No. Quite literally, to understand this ayah, the phrase that we use for what happens to people who try to do anything at all positive. And then, again, these people are coming from a good educated background. They know what they're talking about. They're not calling for anarchy. They're not saying, do away with everything and then we'll see how to deal with the chaos that results. No. That's not the chaos. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not call for chaos. When you do call for a very measured, mindful, positive change in the direction that Allah wants for you to take this world, mudslinging is going to take place. Literally, people are going to throw mud. Actually, a lot of times, literally, but in terms of your character, in terms of your actions, in terms of what the words you say, all kinds of allegations are going to follow. So, وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ. So you can almost read this as, yeah, okay, Allah, I am going to go out there and I'm going to do all of that, but then they're going to throw all these stones at me. They're going to be mudslinging. They're going to be character assassination of the nth degree. And remember, Warqa bin Nawfal had to some degree indicated to Rasulullah ﷺ that your people are going to actually drive you out of the city. He didn't believe it. He didn't, me? They're going to drive me out of the city? They love me. But now the understanding seems to be coming in that I'm going to get really dirty in this process. You can't clean up without getting yourselves dirty. And so to be very clear, to keep yourselves pure, to continue to clean as a continuous process, that cleanliness is going to become necessary. Because when they're going to come at you and accuse you and throw dirt in your face and mudsling like anything, you're going to want to react. You're going to want to stoop to their level and speak their language, which is very abusive. And those are the stains that they're waiting for. Aha, look, he's calling a change. He's calling a good. Look at him. Look at his character. Look at the language he uses. Look at the way he talks. Look at the sort of stuff that he does. Although they threw out the baits repeatedly so that you would. Allah says, yes, you will get hurt. You will feel the pain. You will inspire envy. You will inspire anger. And that anger, that envy will try to pull you down so that you become like it yourself. It is but natural that is going to happen. وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِرْ. So purify your garments. وَالرُّجْزَ فَهْجُرْ. And shun uncleanliness, shun these impurities, this filth. Because again, there's this indication at the very beginning that there was a sort of shunning going on. That shunning is going to be necessary, but it is filth that needs to be shunned. The good you do need to sift out. You need to go towards. And as it gets on you, you continue the act of purification, of cleaning yourself. And your education to continue to iqra, to read, recite, and your قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, standing up at night, their prayer is going to be integral to this process of cleanliness. وَلَا تَمْنُنْ تَسْتَكْثِرْ. And do not do more accepting more or expecting more for yourself. One of the greatest obstacles in the path of anything good that you're looking to do is this impulse that comes from within that says, I should be seeing the rewards straight out. And the more I do, the more I should get. The more I put in, the more I should be expecting from in the form of results, in people responding. And naturally in other ways as well. People should be liking me. People should be, there's so much good that can come out of here. So I do more, I get more. And the cause gets more. Not so fast. Be very mindful, be very careful that whatever it is that you're going to try to do, results won't follow. The greater expectations you have that the results will follow immediately or in the near future, no. They'll trickle in. They will trickle in. The more you do. Okay, somehow the sound is gone. Again, people, my apologies. No, you can't even hear whatever this is. Can you guys hear me now? Better? Audio gone? Still gone? Hang on. Hang on. Okay, not cool. Not cool at all. Anyways, my apologies, Insta people. You guys are gonna have to catch the video on. Okay, I'm just gonna wrap up on at least the YouTube feed. Insta people lost me. Issues going on. I have to wrap up anyways. So the last point that I was trying to make: do not go on expecting immediate results, especially personal favors or personal results. The more you do, the more you get. No. Wali rabbika fasbir. Keep going for your Rabb. Continue to practice patience. Persevere. Keep going. Sabr in the context of keep going. Results not coming, ease not coming, more and more difficulties, more and more dirt, more and more mud. Keep going. Wali rabbik. Why? For your Rabb. For your Rabb. Because that's how he brought you into being as well. Stage by stage, step by step, gradual process. Gradual process. We end with this. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.